What's going on, guys? Kevin Cage here with another crypto update. Happy Friday, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. We're going to try to keep it fun, specifically going over these price charts of a variety of altcoins of almost the 50 available assets on iTrustCapital. So I'm going to go through a bunch of different price charts on the weekly and the monthly time frame and show you my thoughts of key levels and expectations for this cycle. I also want to thank iTrustCapital for being a channel sponsor and allowing me to do these monthly videos, and this allows me to keep making YouTube videos. And most importantly, I want to give a huge thank you to everybody that's here that's ever watched a video, subscribers, those that hit the like button, channel members especially, and everybody that just comments on my videos on a regular basis. There are so many names that I have burned into my memory, such as Chad's Wonderful Walking Tours. I absolutely will forever remember that you are from Mackinac, Michigan, or Mackinac Island. Alright, so let's get into the fun stuff. Right here I have my iTrustCapital watch list on TradingView. I believe I have almost all of them. I might have all of the different altcoins available on iTrust. I'm not going to bore you with Bitcoin. We've gone over it a bunch, so I'm going to be super brief here, but Bitcoin matters and the price action of Bitcoin matters, especially in tandem with Bitcoin dominance. And friendly reminder that this is never financial advice or telling anybody what to believe. This is just sharing what I believe and what I'm doing. You're taking on risk either way. So I have risk being in crypto, believing in it, waiting for it, and you also have risk of missing out. And no matter what happens, I have to be fine with the decisions I make and be accountable for my own portfolio. Now, with that being said, yes, I believe we have another cycle, another bull run. Is that guaranteed? Absolutely not, but I'll show you why I believe that. So feel free to watch my other videos in detail. I've explained it with the first major move, and with the monthly RSI, this momentum indicator, we are literally at the make or break moment. So breaking through this really determines if we can run sooner, if we actually hit this as resistance, we can range a bit or even come back down to the 8-month EMA. So basically where we're at, I'm very excited because if we can break through this momentum and actually start running through 76, 77, these were historically the biggest moves for Bitcoin during the last bull runs. And I've shared before in detail my super basic big range for Bitcoin. I believe it gets to 150k to 250k. There is also potential it goes higher. And in the meantime, we just want to keep closing above the 8-month EMA like previous cycles during pullbacks, even in 2017, pulling back to this level. We never once pulled back to this level during the last bull run. So my speculation for this cycle is that this cycle is going to be a mix between the 2013 bull run and then 2017. So as long as we keep monthly candle bodies closing over this 8-month EMA throughout this cycle, throughout pullbacks, throughout ranges that are boring, I still believe that Bitcoin goes significantly higher. One quick thing for Bitcoin that I want to show you. So we have compared the monthly RSI, just looking at the position, the multiple cups of momentum that's based on liquidity entering crypto. We've gone through the correlations of M2 rising, Bitcoin rising, even last cycle when the Fed added to its balance sheet. It led to a huge bull run. We've gone over these price charts, so I'm just ranting really quick, but when the Fed began to withdraw liquidity, that led to the bear market. So we can see these cups of the momentum, the monthly RSI. This is a momentum indicator. So when it gets higher, I know it can mean overbought and get out. But in crypto cycles, when it gets over 70, even over 80 like last cycles, that means that the buying momentum or buying pressure is increasing and getting higher and higher. And it can lead to much bigger moves, even if there are diminishing returns. So I pulled out this 21 EMA. We're going to go to the weekly, but I just wanted to share that look of the monthly RSI. And I just want to show you why I believe we're kind of in a 2017 structure at new all-time highs because one, we're at new all-time highs and we're seeing a bit of a chop like we did here in 2017. RSI up, down, up, down. We're seeing a bit of a chop here. And here's a few Moonboy things because yes, I am in a lot of altcoins because if Bitcoin goes up really high, this usually leads to another alt season during the crash. And during alt season, even before and after, altcoins massively outperform Bitcoin. So we're seeing diminishing returns at each cycle top. So here it was above the colors, here it was in the red, here it was barely tapping the orange right there. So even if we go to green or yellow, I mean, we're talking 150k, potentially even higher, well above 200. Looking at the stock to flow model, even getting to this trend line, each cycle we've gotten above this level. Even if we merely reach this level, I mean, that's well over 200,000. And if we went up here, I mean, it's even higher, like 400k, which kind of matches the look that Raul has for his logarithmic growth curve. Looking at Colin's Bitcoin Bull Run Index, I encourage you guys to Google this and just look at it. It's actually really timed with the monthly RSI that I look at, but just wanting to compare the previous cycles, bear market bottom, bear market bottom, bear market bottom, bear market bottom, all in dark green. And we're not in dark red, so I don't think we're anywhere close to being at cycle tops like the previous cycles. Because at the cycle tops, timed with the monthly RSI as it's topping, it can last for months. It doesn't have to be a 1-week thing where Bitcoin tops and everything crashes. So I know we were here for 7 months. It was long, it was boring. People are calling crypto a scam, but sometimes things just take a while to draw. And that's why I believe that we just have to let things draw, because I believe we still go to dark red despite waves. and even the pi cycle top. So we know this is accurate and showing basically 3 of the cycle tops within a matter of weeks for Bitcoin. And we can see this level. This is the prediction for the pi cycle top around 250K. And looking at Bitcoin dominance, so the last time we crashed in 2017 and 2021, this led to the historical alt season. So whether or not you agree with me that we're going to crash soon or it takes even longer, I believe when we get this crash to the lows, a bunch of assets pop. It's all good if you don't believe in a historical analysis. I understand that nothing is perfect. You can't foresee black swans because by definition it's unpredictable, but just looking at these cycles on the weekly and the monthly, we are in a very similar setup. And there have been so many interesting fundamental pieces of news that could act as a huge catalyst this cycle with the new administration, so we'll keep tabs. So now we're going to go over a bunch of altcoins. I just want everybody to keep in mind what Bitcoin does and what Bitcoin dominance does matters more than anything. I do want ETH to finally get moving to all-time highs, but it can still range a bit longer. We have tapped the 786 Fibonacci retracement several times. So basically, I know I've called it for 2 times in a row. I'm hoping that the next time Ethereum does hit over 4,000, we actually start moving. So if you're in other layer 1s or mid caps or micro caps, I think everybody should be rooting for Bitcoin to run higher and Ethereum to actually break past that 786 where we hit 3 times. So 1, 2, and 3. So can we range a bit? Can we come a little lower before this happens? Absolutely. I'm just waiting for Ethereum to actually break through this level. And last cycle it was coincidentally timed with Bitcoin dominance crashing. So both of these moments of Ethereum blasting and Bitcoin dominance crashing led to the last alt season. So right or wrong, I know I've said many times, I believe that the top for Bitcoin dominance was here. I could be wrong, and if it does run higher as Bitcoin pulls back, then alts can go even lower for longer, but it is possible that at any moment we get the crash as Bitcoin is going up, and that's alt season. So we're waiting for that moment. And during the last video, we went over the phases of alt season with Bitcoin, Ethereum, large caps, and certain phase overlaps. I think it's still going to rhyme, to be honest. I know that might seem really silly, but I do think that Bitcoin historically in the beginning of these cycles, even after the first major moves, still gobbles up the majority of the liquidity before the big rotation to alts. So I know there are exceptions where XRP, HBAR, and others have performed well, but we are not even close to the Bitcoin cycle top, the way I read the market. So not to be hypey, but I don't even think we've seen the biggest market moves. Alright guys, and for reference, before we dive into the price charts, I'll make sure that I add timestamps to this video. We have iTrustCapital linked down below, one of the largest and most successful crypto IRA or crypto retirement platforms. I have a playlist on my channel going through a bunch. The benefits, the different types of retirement accounts, information on their AUM, available assets, etc. So if you're a US resident, feel free to check them out. I really like having a crypto Roth IRA because I'm not really tempted to panic during the volatility on the 4-hour time frame. I really look at this over the long term. So I've gone over this a million times, but they are legitimate. I really like the team. They've always answered any questions I had in detail. And if you do have questions, you want to reach out to them at any time, you can visit iTrustCapital.com or use the link right in the video description. And right on the homepage, you can click support, you can click support home. They have easy video walkthroughs. Everything is extremely simple compared to how it used to be years ago. You can submit a request right there, or you can call them directly during business days. And they leverage a qualified custodian, so per their terms of service, if they ever went out of business, I actually know that we get our funds by law, which is reassuring considering some of these lending platforms and other platforms out there. And we know they were last valued at like 1.3 billion years ago, and I think it's safe to say that since their AUM did hit a new high and Bitcoin is much higher than where it was years ago, that they're doing well. So that'll be linked below. Let's dive into some altcoin price charts. We're going to go through a good amount in this one. Hopefully this video is not too long, and I'll do my best to add timestamps. Alright, so first up, XRP, we've gone over this a bunch. This is one that I'm obviously most excited for, looking at the momentum. So this is the highest the monthly RSI has been really since like January 2018, even 2017, during some of the biggest moves that XRP had in history. So getting these God candles is what I call them. That's what I'm still hoping for, to see actual God candles, multiple back-to-back, very large monthly candles as this momentum runs. So not financial advice, but I'm bullish based on our last monthly close, and especially this monthly close that we see in the next 6 hours, 50 minutes. We're seeing XRP run, and this accumulation was long. It was boring up, down, up, down. Some assets have been even more volatile, but that's basically my expectation for other altcoins that might be in accumulation at their lows, waiting for all of these to pop off. So looking at this really quick, we're going to draw some horizontal rays on the top of the highest monthly candle body right there, and we are above this level. So if we do get a close over the next 6 hours, 50 minutes, I'm getting really excited because we are closing above the previous cycle top in terms of the candle bodies. The next level would be over this wick, right around like $3.31, $3.32. Now coming down to the weekly time frame, after this type of wave, a multi 100% move to the upside, for expectations, if we do any pullbacks in the future, it is not uncommon to see a 382, a 50%, or a 618 retracement. So if we actually drew from the low to the high, we already filled that 382 and then we started running higher. And in theory, even if this pullback didn't stop at the 382, it'd still be considered healthy even if it came down to the 618 by these previous highs. So the bottom line, XRP is looking strong here. I know the arguments of looking for, the RSI as we got two peaks and multiple crashes. So two peaks right there, two peaks right there. And this being a fake out, it's possible, but my expectation as a long-term holder is I'm literally just holding for higher prices. Now, if you made money and you're in profit, you want to take some off the table, totally fine. Do what's best for you. I've held XRP since 2017. It is one of the most boring assets I've ever held, and now it's starting to be one of the most fun ones. And I'm also sure that there are a bunch of XRP holders out there that can relate to this, talking about XRP for years. Maybe your family and friends knew you were an XRP, and there were several people out there that never bought XRP, and now they're finally hitting you up saying, hey, should I buy it? It's a crazy game. All right, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, we get it. Let's look at Solana. All right, super quick with Solana on the monthly time frame. So we're clearly in an uptrend. We are holding above the 8-month EMA, as you can see. So the trend still looks strong. I think we're just somewhat consolidating, and we are above all the Fibonacci retracements. So we did wick into a new all-time price, but we've yet to see the actual first major move where we get a full monthly candle body over the previous cycle top like we've seen for Bitcoin. And we can also see that looking at the monthly RSI. This hasn't run like other assets. XRP's over 80, Bitcoin's well over 70. And same thing for Ethereum, the RSI is still low, so I think that this cycle we're still waiting for Bitcoin to run much higher and for Ethereum and Solana to get moving. Coming down to the weekly, and I also just want to emphasize, I don't think the ROI for Solana and Ethereum is going to be absolutely insane. I think that there are going to be many lower cap projects during alt season that outperform it, but it's a good thing because these are two massive chains for liquidity for all altcoins. And as long as we keep closing above and holding the trend above this yellow moving average, this is the 50-week moving average. We can see backtest, backtest, and backtest. Over this level, I consider the trend bullish. We're just kind of consolidating. And there are huge holders in the Solana ecosystem. I do think that we get a spot ETF, and we can see up here like the 4.236 is higher. And I'm sure you guys have seen the big bullish predictions by Van Eck. I believe they predicted like 3,200 for Solana by 2030, but please confirm that. I've done YouTube videos on that, but make sure you Google that just to confirm. All right, let's see. So Chainlink, we get it. I actually want Link to create new all-time highs. Let's take a look at AVAX. Stellar is somewhat similar to XRP, but it did pull back, so it looks like it's kind of drawing waves. So what I like about AVAX is if you went side by side with Solana, there's definitely a correlation. When this ran up and Solana ran up, the ROI for Solana was higher, but AVAX is in a good spot. We can see that the monthly RSI is potentially flattening out for a curl up. It's still far away from its previous cycle top. It's a popular project, and I could see spot AVAX ETFs in the future as well. And just looking at the monthly, we haven't seen this truly run, and when I point out monthly RSI or the momentum, that doesn't mean that every single asset goes over the purple or over 70 and overbought and really runs, but that's my expectation for a bunch of alts this cycle in a traditional alt season. So let's draw a quick Fibonacci retracement from the all-time price last cycle to the cycle low thus far. So swing high, swing low, and then just drag all the way across. So we did hit the 382. There have been many other assets, including HBAR, that hit the 618. We had XRP go above this. Overall, I mean, we are still below a bunch of retracements. Let me remove this moving average. We'll go down to the weekly really quick just to get a little bit more insight. So we are right back on the 50-week moving average. So that is a key level we want to hold to stay bullish. Otherwise, we're coming down. So I'm going to go through other altcoins, and I just want to point out that some might have retraced to the 382, some retraced up here, and there are still plenty that are below the 236. During an alt season, at the very least, I would expect several that are still at the lows to retrace to the 236, the 618. We break through these three retracements, then I would basically be looking at like the 1618, the 2618, potentially 4.236. So I could talk about different levels and Fibonacci retracement levels that are important, but the most important thing right now in this cycle is what Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance do, because one pullback of Bitcoin as Bitcoin dominance stays the same or climbs to over 60%, a bunch of alts take a hit and they go lower. And really, if Bitcoin somewhat stays the same or starts impulsing up as Bitcoin dominance takes a hit and comes lower, we're likely going to see more alts start to pop off again like we did back here. Now, I definitely favor the monthly time frame more than the weekly, but we can still clearly see different sell-side imbalances or open fair value gaps for AVAX right here. So let me plot these out with the horizontal ray. So we're going to go right up here to the bottom of the wick of the first candle. Let me zoom in more so we can see this. So right here we have the first candle, this dark blue one. We're going to go to the bottom of the wick. We're going to count this first candle, second candle, third candle, and we're going to draw another ray on the top of that wick. So basically we have 3 candles, 1, 2, and 3, and we are in a downtrend, so this is selling pressure. We're going to go to the first wick at the bottom of the first candle, and then we're going to go to the next wick at the top of the third candle. And we can see that these 2 wicks never overlapped. So if this wick actually came down and this wick came up, and there was an overlap of these 2, there would be no fair value gap. But because these never overlapped, there is a sell-side imbalance, and this is popular if you guys pay attention to ICT trading and order blocks, and I think it's important to note. I think people can be really successful on the 4-hour and daily time frame, but just looking on the weekly, which is even bigger, I think that's a valid level to fill in the future during the next wave up. And sometimes when you draw a Fibonacci retracement from the high to the low, you'll actually see confluence where it overlaps with that level right at the 50%. I did just check this 10 seconds ago and I'm adding this to the video just to show you the confluence. So the fair value gap, let me show you, right here, this rectangle, is exactly on the 50% retracement. So basically 2 confluences showing that level. We can do the same thing looking at lower levels for buy-side imbalances or still open magnets or levels for price action. Now, technically not all of these get filled. These are just levels that I pay attention to in case any black swan. Believe it or not, there are still open ones below for Bitcoin and Ethereum, although I don't think they actually fill. So without plotting all the horizontal rays, because this will take forever, basically right there at that wick to the top of the third wick and going all the way across right there, that is technically by definition an open fair value gap, a buy-side imbalance on the weekly time frame down below. So I don't believe the top is in even close for Bitcoin in the crypto asset class, but if you did draw a fib from the high to the low to see how we hit retracements, we can see from here, high to low, we hit the 786 and rejected that level and we're coming back down. So we are on the 50-week moving average right there. That basically is like 34, 35 bucks. It's important to keep getting closes above this level. Otherwise, we're going to be losing some strength and coming down a bit lower. So I think all of this is applicable to a bunch of altcoins. This is just AVAX, but this can apply to any asset that I see at the lows that drew a decent retracement up and then retraced down. So what I did, and I've shared many times before, is Fetch or ASI, drawing a fib from swing low to swing high of the impulse and going all the way across. What did Fetch do? I'll make sure I pull it up for reference. We retraced, Fetch came down to the 786, and then later made it up to the negative 4.236. So that's 300 bucks for AVAX. I could also show you examples of alts that did this type of count to only the 618. Some even went below the 786 and then some only made it up here. But Fetch, as an example, I'll pull it up right now, came up to the 4.236. So what did ASI do? We can see from the low to the high, kind of like the retracement I was looking at for AVAX. When AVAX got down to the 786, I have seen some pull deeper here and then still get up to these golden extensions. We can see it got up to the negative 2.7. This one drew waves all the way up to the negative 4.236. I know fibs might be silly, but I really love fibs. If you guys remember videos from years ago when I was talking about the 4.236 twice in a row, that was one of my actual good calls on YouTube, being very stern with this, reaching the 4.236. During this big 70% crash, I was still calling for another 4.236 up here. And that is a public video that I was actually proud of, considering the past few years in this market, but we can see from the high to the low, we also did it again up to the 4618 right there. And for anybody that might remember, when we did this big sharp illiquidity wick, I was calling that this was like a ghost wick and we were still coming up here. Now this wasn't because I was some genius, it was because we were in alt season, Bitcoin is at new highs. So I was right about DAG, this thing absolutely exploded last cycle, but guess what? I did not call the top, I was wrong about Bitcoin and I got absolutely wrecked in 2022. But I'll also probably be referring to DAG as an example last cycle. This was during alt season, this little run up and then the crash, and then alt season ended. But this is an example of an asset. As Bitcoin ran higher, DAG and other assets actually had another, I guess, in quote, alt season and went even higher. So some are laggards. And that's why for a bunch of altcoins, I'm clearly rooting for a run like this, or even getting over 70 into the purple, because these are historically the biggest moves we see for crypto each cycle. Alright, next up for HBAR. So I've gone over HBAR in detail a million times, so I'll be super brief here, but this is one that popped off and performed really well since November, doing over 800%. We can see the monthly RSI, the momentum is high. We are potentially encountering some resistance right here. So after over an 800% move, let me just show you really quick. I mean, this thing did over 800%. It is not crazy for it to pull back. So if we do pull back after this type of wave, it doesn't mean it's a scam. It just means that an asset went up over 800% and it can pull back to the 382, which it already did, or even the 618, which would be a back test on these wicks and kind of consolidate. I still want HBAR to go to new all-time highs. And for anybody curious, yes, I still hold Hashpack. I'm rooting for Hashpack and a bunch of other HTS tokens to perform, but I also want to see if and when HBAR's monthly RSI can blast through this resistance, and then we can actually see major moves into new all-time highs, referring to full candle bodies over the all-time high around 58 cents. So going down to the weekly time frame for HBAR, we can see from low to high, we did pull back to the 382. So in the perfect case, we'd actually kind of just range here, holding above that 26-cent level before getting the next move to the upside. And I guess in the most bearish case, it is possible for us to come all the way down during some type of flash crash to the 50-week moving average. This was important support in the past right there, kind of around the 786 today. And then ideally, I still believe that we actually reach all-time highs like the other fractals. Every chart's different. I mean, we could look at what we did for AVAX and Fetch a little bit, and I know this is subjective, but we are clearly in an uptrend. This could be a flagging structure before going higher. And also just to note, this is not saying that we have to go there now, but for anybody that watched me for years, we did talk about an open liquidity gap for HBAR right around the 702, and we've still yet to actually fill that level, so that is an open gap in liquidity right around like 42 cents. So we'll see how long we chop here if we actually kind of hold this level and make our way up, or this takes a little longer and we kind of pull back to previous highs, back testing these levels up here on this wick, and then it kind of does this before we kind of chop higher later. I think all of this ends in 2025. I don't think this is going to be a longer cycle. Maybe it is, though, based on regulation. And if the Fed adjusts its balance sheet, referring to this, sorry, I just had a huge hiccup. Let me pull this up. So here's the Fed balance sheet. So let me just show you this really quick. I've done videos going over this, but just an example of when the Fed injected liquidity at the bottom of Bitcoin last cycle during March 2020 and when it started to withdraw. So if we actually start to see this number curl up in the future, that is a good thing for crypto. We'll see if it happens, but last cycle we can see they injected almost $5 trillion of liquidity into the crypto asset class. If they did anything similar, that is very bullish. Alright, let's go over two more altcoins on iTrustCapital. I can do more of these, just comment down below and I'm going to save any comments on a Google Sheet for altcoins that are available on iTrust. I do want to see some more gaming tokens. They already have several, which is good. Sonic also, which is formerly Phantom FTM. What do people care about? Do you care about ICP? I mean, there are levels above it. I think I shared in a previous video already. Yes, I can see it retracing. It has one of the highest amounts of development activity in the space, and it does have fair value gaps above. I still think Algo does well. Things like Aave, Compound. I think that DeFi takes off. When Ethereum takes off, I would just be looking at basic fib retracements, the monthly RSI, and any fair value gaps. Let's do one that might actually not be that popular, but I do think it performs this cycle. I know its market cap is bigger, but I do believe that Litecoin does get a spot ETF this cycle. So really quick with Litecoin on the weekly time frame, this was its performance in these purple rectangles during the last two alt seasons. So I just want to emphasize we have not seen the crash of Bitcoin dominance to the lows like the previous two alt seasons. We have not seen alt season when Bitcoin dominance crashes, not just drops, but crashes to the lows like the previous cycles, and Bitcoin is going up, making higher highs. So we can see Litecoin at the 236. My expectations is as long as we stay above the 50-week moving average, I believe the trend is still bullish. Yes, we could pull back at any time to this level, this yellow 50 MA. I just think the trend is going to be held here and Litecoin actually ends up retracing higher. So using the previous high, we can see this also hit the 702 right at 300 bucks. And similar to XLM, I believe, XLM almost did like a double top last cycle, so it never really broke into a new all-time high price and didn't do major moves. So Litecoin kind of looks similar. And what I mean by that is this. We have a high for XLM on the right hand side, we have a high, and it came up and started teasing these levels. So almost like a triple top. We've yet to really get up there. The difference is, compared to XRP, which looks stronger right now, is that the RSI for XLM actually came back down, but it doesn't mean it's done. And really just comparing these two on the monthly time frame, we could even draw trend lines right here to see if this is a potential trend line. Let's do that super quick. I can clean this up a little bit, but hopefully you see my point right there, and we can see something similar for XLM, but it actually took out this previous high and ran a bit over 70. We haven't seen that for Litecoin. Alright, let's do one more. I think there might be some Gala holders that watch this channel. I'm also excited for some other gaming tokens, but if you guys have any other requests of altcoins that are available on iTrustCapital, you want to kind of check out the chart, get my high-level thoughts on the weekly and monthly, let me know down below. We can also see here for near just really quick, and I know that rhymed. This is similar to AVAX. We can see coming up and coming back down. We did lose the 50-week moving average though, so keep in mind that it is still possible for a bunch after this wave to come back down lower for a little while. We just have to let the market draw. The RSI is still looking weak for near. Even Ethereum on certain time frames, the RSI still looks a bit weak, so we're kind of just chopping. So this won't be the case for every single asset, but my expectation for these that came up, I believe most of them retrace. Maybe the 702 was enough, but it's still possible to come all the way down here before the next wave to the upside. Ideally, some making new all-time highs, like Fetch did at the 4.236. especially if Bitcoin continues to gobble up liquidity or it just kind of consolidates and pulls back as Bitcoin dominance rises. That's why I keep pointing out Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance, because we're still in the waiting phase. Alright, let's finish up with Gala. Full disclosure, I have not kept up with developments of what they're doing, but I just want to go over the chart. So looking at the monthly, we can see we're still in accumulation. This is where I definitely got excited during this kind of rise up. We've come back down since then. Now remember, I'm looking up because I'm waiting for another alt season when Bitcoin dominance crashes. So not to sound hypey, I know that triggers some people, but I'm looking for these assets and accumulation to eventually retrace. We also have a very large monthly fair value gap above right here at this wick, so kind of just loosely measure this all the way across. I mean, we can see this between like, say 17 to like maybe like 21 cents. So there are still sell-side imbalances, there are assets that are still below the 236 Fibonacci retracement, and they really haven't woken up. And notice that this fair value gap, coincidentally, is near the 236. So really just looking at Gala, we'll go down to the weekly, we can kind of just see up, down, we're still ranging, we can come back down lower and kind of wait, but we want to see when and if this monthly RSI can find a bottom here and actually get the cross over the 50 line. And I already shared several examples of when we got that cross over the 50 line, we enter a lot more bullish territory, so if we saw this RSI start coming up like this, then I'd actually be looking at Gala officially breaking out of accumulation and reaching at least the 236. And I'm just looking at the price chart. I'm not up to date on their tokenomics right now, but we can see that we have come back down and lost the 50-week MA. Alright, so let's remove this. Really, we're just chopping at the lows and just zooming out. This is an asset that is yet to retrace. During an alt season, I still expect assets like this structure to retrace. Even just zooming in here, we can see how Gala has respected the Fibonacci retracement levels. So from the high to the low, came up to the 702, and we did actually reject that level right there. So we drew this wave, we've come back down, we are below the 50-week moving average, so to start to get more bullish, we definitely want to get back above that level. It's possible that we still come a little bit lower and retest these levels for support. Going down to the daily, I have the 500-day open, so this is an example of an asset we want to see maintain above this level, because on the daily, one of these smaller time frames, this is what we're really looking at for the trend, because this is key support. We can see back test, we lost this level, and we are just above it today. So looking on the daily, we definitely would like to stay above this 500-day. It's possible that we get a death cross here and we kind of range a little bit longer before the sharp recovery. But that's why I really kind of zoom out and just look at the chart overall. We've seen several assets from these lows eventually make their way into a sharp retracement to the 236 or the 618 up here. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching. We have iTrustCapital linked right in the top of the YouTube video description, and I hope you have a great weekend. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash the like button and let me know your thoughts down below. You can find all links to my crypto resources, including tools for charting, trading bots, wallets, portfolio trackers, and exclusive discounts right in my link tree in the video description. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.